you doing, guys? The question for today is, when does abortion becomes an act of murder? And is God okay with it? Does the fetus feels it when he hasn't developed arms, legs, perhaps eyes, or it hasn't developed completely? Now, I'm sure a lot of you at one point or time in your life have asked yourself those questions, either when you're eating, either when you're driving your car, either when you're laying in bed at night, just sitting there by yourself thinking. A lot of you have asked yourself those questions, including those of you who have gone through the act of abortion. So today we're going to be discussing this matter in both ways, the Christian point of view and a science point of view, due to the fact that a lot of people that will watch this video may be atheists or may be Christians. So let's start from a Christian point of view. It is clear in the Bible that where God says, "I knew you before you were in the womb," meaning that before you were in your mother's womb, to him you already existed. Therefore, once you've entered your mother's womb or belly, if you want to call it, you are no longer a spiritual existing being, due to the fact that to God you already existed before you were in the womb. No longer are you a spiritually existing, you are also physically existing and experiencing life. Not life as we know it in the physical world, but that fetus, it don't matter if it's the size of a beam, a nag, or even I don't know, an 8-month-old fetus, 3-month-old fetus, even a 2-week-old old fetus. That fetus is already experiencing life due to the fact that it's developing, it is feeding from its mother. A dead fetus can't feed from his mother. A dead fetus can't use mother's oxygen to remain alive, right? It has to be alive in order to do all of those things. Not only that, but he also mentions, only I give life, therefore only I have the right to take it. Before you start thinking about aborting your baby, if you do believe in God, you better think it twice before you take that cruel decision. Because abortion, to me, is murder. It always was, it is, and it'll always be murder. As cruel and as harsh as that sounds, it is murder. And a lot of you might say, well, how can it be murder? It's just a fetus. I repeat again, that fetus is feeding from the mother. The fetus is taking oxygen from its mother. A dead being cannot feed if it's dead. It has to be alive in order to feed, right? Therefore, if you abort that fetus, it doesn't matter how old it is, you're killing your baby. I repeat, God says, only I give life, and only I have the right to take it. I knew you before you were in the womb. So if you believe in God and you're pregnant and you're thinking about aborting your baby, doesn't matter your life circumstances, it doesn't matter what you're going through, you better think it twice. There's other ways to do this without going down the road of abortion. I guarantee you that God rather you have that baby and later on give it away than to abort that baby and kill it and take a life. Okay, so now let's look at it from the science point of view. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an abortionist or a gynecologist or none of those things. But by the 18th day, the baby's brain starts to develop. We all know what the brain is, right? And what it does, and what's the function of the brain in the human body. By 6 weeks, the lower part of the brain, it's called, I'm going to read it here, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right, the cerebral, cerebral, the cerebral cortex is also starting to develop. So this is probably this size. You're not talking about a full grown fetus, and it's already developing its brain. It's already developing the lower part of the brain. Not to mention by the fifth week, this baby is already developed pain receptors around the mouth. Only 5 weeks. 18th day, the brain starts to develop. 5 weeks, pain receptors around the mouth. And all of these things are signs of a living fetus. Former abortionist Dr. Bernard Nathanson has a video, it's like a 10-minute video. It's called the silent scream. A lot of these abortions are practiced after 8 weeks, from 8 to 12 weeks and on, or 8 to 12 weeks or something like that. And in that video, he explains how by the 12th week, this baby feels pain. Pretty much, if you pull a needle in there, he's gonna move his hands. And the reason he calls this video the silent scream is because when the fetus body is being dismembered, yes, you heard right, dismembered. In other words, they have to break their little bones. In some instance, they vacuum the brain out of the fetus, supposedly, so he doesn't feel any pain, which it contradicts their action, because according to them, the reason they are aborting, or they are able to abort this fetus humanely, is that, oh, he doesn't feel any pain, yet they suck the brain so that he doesn't feel any pain. Therefore, they're contradicting themselves. Well, he called this video the silent scream is because when the fetus body is being dismembered, the fetus opens his mouth, almost like in a scream action. Obviously, you're not going to hear him. That is why he called it the silent scream. Let's just stop and think for a second. Let's forget about the fetus. Let's picture a baby, okay? Take a baby, a newborn baby, dismember his body, break its bones. And then after you broke all of his bones, and that baby is screaming in pain, you drill a hole in his skull, and you vacuum his brain out. That is the most cruel thing I have ever heard. Well, unfortunately, a lot of abortion, that's how it takes place. Oh, I ain't saying that. This ain't my words. This is coming from a former abortionist, an actual gynecologist. So, I guess the medical term is OBGYN. Don't believe me? Look for that video, The Silent Scream by Bernard Nathanson, or Dr. B. Nathanson. So, if you don't believe in God and you do believe in science, I just gave you a little bit of many science proof that the fetus is a living being. And when you go through abortion, you're committing an act of murder. Abortion is murder. I say it again. It always was murder. It is murder. And it will always be murder. Now, of course, if your baby's already dead in your belly, let's say if your baby died inside your belly and you have to go through a surgery to abort that baby, then that's not murder. Your baby's already dead. Okay? My own aunt went through that, where her baby died in her belly. And unfortunately, these things happened. But that's about the only time when abortion, it's not an act of murder. Other than that, it is an act of murder. So, I repeat, if you believe in God and you are thinking about committing this act of murder, you better think it twice, because you already know where He stands as far as abortion goes. If you don't believe in God and your belief is more towards science, Can your conscience be clear when you go online or when you talk to a doctor or an abortionist and he explains to you that by aborting this baby, let's say from 5 weeks, from 18 days and up, you are pretty much killing this baby at a much higher rate of pain, because by the time he's already developed his brain, he's already developed pain receptors around his mouth, he already reacts to pain. So if you've heard all of this from a doctor, a scientist, and you still decide, you know what, I'll go ahead and abort him anyways, I'll kill my baby, you're a dog. That's just my opinion. I don't care what your opinion is on the matter. My opinion on abortion is it's murder.